welcome to the Rock Metal Podcast. I'm your host, John Harris, and today on Rock Metal Podcast, we have WREX, and there's a lot of stuff going on. They have a new single that came across my desk called Vacant, which is released on October 20th. I had to think about that for a second, May. I was like, wait a minute, October, that hasn't happened yet. Oh, and like, it's November. When did that happen?
That definitely.
Yeah. When did that happen? October 29th via Favour The Brave Records. And also as well, we've got a few other singles that appear to have just been released over time, and there's a new one, I think, that's coming out here shortly. So I'm super excited to have Mae on from WREX so that we can chat about what WREX is up to. So Mae, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely great to have you on. Now, take us through what you guys are up to, because I don't exactly have that there's an EP or an album, but is that kind of like what you guys are working towards, or what is the plan?
So, I mean, because we've done pretty well, actually. We've everything so far is going pretty well, like with our last 4 singles. So we're thinking we're going to kind of evolve the sound, like kind of take some time and maybe like go away for a weekend and just smash out a load of writing and then kind of see what comes of that, and that will form hopefully an EP to be released summer next year.
Okay.
Hopefully it'll be along the same like vein as what we've released so far, but hopefully a little bit more riffy, like a little bit more heavy. It'd be nice to kind of up the ante a little bit.
Okay. Now you could have upped the ante any way, shape, or form. There could have been more keyboards and less guitars. There could have been more Mae and less, everything else. There's so many different. So I'm curious, when it came to evolving the sound and choosing which direction to go, how did you guys come to that conclusion?
I think, to be honest, it's more or less what I've got in my head. Like, this is my vision. Like, I can hear how I think it's going to come out. Like, at the moment, it's all still like a jigsaw of songs. Like, there's like a little bit here, a little bit there. It all still needs putting together. But I can hear how I think it should sound in my head. And it's kind of like a pop punk while she sleeps, if everything goes to plan.
Okay, and George is on board with this. Have you talked to George about this?
Yeah.
Or is he just
sleeps? So I think he's riff lord anyway. I'm just the one at the front, really.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm watching the music video for Typical at the current moment, and that's all I see. Wait, no, is that him towards the end?
Sorry?
In the music video Typical, is that George towards the end drowning in the water there?
Oh, yes, yeah. Yeah, he's chained to the bed at some point as well. It's a lot of weird stuff going on. So, although having said that, it's not as weird as the next one. So,
not as weird as the next one. Well, actually, one of the first things I noticed when I was watching this music video was the chain on the bed. So it was plainly visible from the very beginning of the music video. So a lot of times I'll watch a band and the chain that they're chained to or whatever, there's usually something revealed at the end, or maybe even the chain being revealed at the end. But like right here at the very get-go, we see this chain. So what is this track about, that you're chained to a bed?
So it's kind of in reference to like a shared experience. So the idea is that like me and George are both like experiencing the same, like we're going through the same experiences, like the same problems, like all of that. But we don't know each other is experiencing it. So it's like you're going through the same thing, but you can't put it into words. You can't talk about it. Like you can't find a way to express yourself. So that's kind of where the chain comes in. And then the idea is that like, essentially it's like a visual like panic attack going on in that like you're sinking into the bed and then you're underwater. And then like at the end where we're soaked through, but the bed is still dry. So that's kind of like, we've made it through it, but like, we've obviously still been through some stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Whether that came across or not, who knows?
Well, I mean, something that's come up quite a bit throughout the pandemic is an increase in anxiety type mental health. So is this like a pandemic related song? Is this something you guys have been experiencing yourselves?
Actually, that wasn't necessarily pandemic related. I think that's just general life related, that one. I think, yeah, unfortunately. we all experience some kind of anxiety and paranoia in some way or another. It's just kind of showing, you know, like it's like the positive side of it, that like you can get through it. Like you've been through it, like you've obviously, you know, you're still soaked through. It's obvious that that's happened, but you're fine at the end of it. The new track is a lockdown one. That one is a bit more like, what's going on? Like, where are we? What's happening with the world?
Yeah. Okay. Now, I guess my next question is, you mentioned you guys are going to get into the writing space, go away for a weekend, evolve the sound, be like, write more riffs, and then have an EP for next summer. But when it comes to these individual singles, are you guys writing them like one by one?
So basically from the beginning, we never actually intended to release anything. Like what happened was, yeah.
You're on a show now, though.
I know, right? Craziness. So what happened was, I'd kind of been out of touch with anything musical for a while, and then I think I went home and like kind of was left to my own devices for a bit, and just a song just came out of nowhere. And then I got in touch with George and was like, I'm never going to use this. Like, is there anything you can do with it, maybe? Because I feel like it should be used. And that was actually typical. So that was the first one that was written. So it was, I'd written like a very, very rough acoustic version, and sent it to him for him to do anything with, basically. And from that kind of begun a beautiful butterfly of a project.
Yes. The butterfly effect. You're flapping your wings. I'm feeling it here in Canada.
Yeah, so, and then halfway, I think, was one that was started maybe, I think I had a bit of a song from like maybe 8 years ago, like a long time ago. I was like, well, that was good fun. Why don't we do another one? And then it wasn't until Wide Eyes was written, which we wrote like a few months down the line from then, that we kind of like, this is all right. We should probably show someone.
And then you did, and now you're here.
Yeah, basically. So Vacant was the first one that we actually wrote knowing that it was going to be released.
It was halfway.
No, halfway was like written, like that was written ages ago, and then I think we only actually kept the chorus, was the only bit that lasted the 8 years, and then like everything else in the song we kind of rewrote whilst it was being recorded.
Wow. Okay. So now I've actually got the lyric video that I'm going to put in for today's show notes, because there's a lyric video for Halfway. There's the music video for Typical. And the funny thing is, you mentioned evolving the sound into having some riffs. I definitely hear something in Halfway. There's a riff going on in there. I guess, do you even think that Halfway could be heavier?
I mean, potentially. I think a lot of it like gets kind of like dumbed down, because I think the female vocal kind of calms everything down a bit.
Always, yeah.
Yeah.
Gotta scream more often, Mae. Just scream. Just, take all your aggression out.
No, I'm not angry enough yet. I need to be more in touch with my inner Hulk.
Yeah. Yes, of course.
Yeah, no, definitely got potential. I think, like Vacant, we wanted to be, like, you know, definitely rock, like definitely on the heavier side of, like, you know, pop rock. But, like, we wanted loads of synths in that. There's, like, even, like, the little, like, trap-esque break. Has got, like, some drums that I kind of picked out. I was like, yeah, we should get this in there. And at the time, I think George was a bit skeptical. I was like, oh, I don't know what's going on here. But you know, he came around to the idea.
George is like that. In all the years I've known him, Mae, he's always uniquely skeptical of things.
It's good, though, because it keeps me in line as well.
So you guys could keep all the elements. You just have to go metalcore or something. I don't know. I'm going to have to learn to scream if that's the case. Give me a little bit of time. I know, because we got the loads of synths. You guys want to have some riffs. We've got like trap beat breakdowns. It could work. It could work. The next evolution of WREX is going to be like WREX core.
Oh, I wish. I listened to like Eskimo Callboy. I would be so up for doing something like that. But unfortunately, my vocals are not there yet. So.
Yeah, well, that's kind of a fun one, you know, especially because rock and metal podcasts, obviously you fit in there, but I also chat with a lot of metal bands, and often what will come up is kind of like what is metal or what is heavy. And heavy is something that you said we want to get heavier. And it sounded like the definition of that was, I don't know, turn up the guitars or maybe have a few more guitar riffs in there. I guess, what is your definition of heavy?
I suppose it's all perspective, really. I mean, if it depends what category we're being fit into. Like, if we're being fit into like a pop rock, then we're definitely on the heavier end of pop rock, because we're trying to, it's still like radio worthy, but it's accessible by kind of pop and rock fans. That's kind of what we're going at.
Yeah.
But having said, like, we could probably push it a bit further. So, I mean, Horizon are like absolutely smashing it at the moment. So I'd love to write something along that vein.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Still very simple.
Yeah. Speaking of, you mentioned writing, you had I think it was an acoustic guitar, so you got campfire, I call it campfire versions of the songs. So it sounds like you're pretty heavy-handed in the writing process. So you have an acoustic guitar, you write it out. What do you do next? Do you get a tape recorder? How old am I? You get a tape recorder and you record those 4-track tape recorders, a Tascam. You get it out. I'm old now. If you record a demo and you send it off to George, how does the song go from, let's say, where you're sitting here right now and you're like, oh, that might work, to we've got loads of synths, we've got electric guitars, we've got drums, vocals, the whole bit. Take us through that?
Well, for the last few, it's been kind of that I'll have an idea. So I usually start with a melody, and then it'll I'll kind of find out what chords will go with that. I only do the very basics, basically. I'm not a very good guitar player. I know I play enough to be able to write, and that is it. I have no desire to know anymore. That's that's his territory. So it'll essentially be like an open mic night version. Would be what I would present him with. There'll be maybe a little bit of shakers and tambourines in the background, just to kind of emphasize certain points. Sometimes there's a very rough hook in guitar or bass or something that I can hear, but if I'm always open to interpretation. So when I send it to him, he'll be okay, that can stay, I can hear this bit, and usually we have the same vision, which is really handy, but equally he will put me in my place if something doesn't sound very good.
So Mae, that sounded horrible. Wanted you to know. So if you could go back and make that not sound horrible, that'd be great. Cool. There's something else you mentioned was female vocals kind of lighten it up. And I remember always hearing that, and just speaking from a heavy metal perspective, some of my favorite metal bands have been told that they're not metal because it's even a guy and he has clean vocals. And to me, it's never about the vocals, I guess, in that sense.
Yeah, I think it's more about the attitude, personally. I definitely wouldn't put us in metal. That's not to say that we'll never get there. But yeah, I think it's more about the attitude, the combination of things, the feel of the song more than anything. Because there are a lot of really good bands with purely clean vocals that I would still definitely put into the metal category.
Yeah.
I would love to be able to scream. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, you could honestly just send an email to some bands that you like. I mean, you mentioned was Eskimo Cowboy, you mentioned Bring Me the Horizon. You can send emails to their managers and say, hey, can we get some guest vocals on some spots and try some things out?
I feel like I probably can't afford that.
Yeah. I don't know how much they charge, but it's always worth the email, I guess.
True. Now, you don't know.
Now, the latest single that came across my desk, called Vacant, take us through this track.
So that one was written over lockdown. So it's kind of a bit, I don't know. It's kind of written as though you're not really in the real world, as many of us probably felt anyway. It's a bit are we here? Are we is this a dream? That kind of thing. So I wanted it to be quite synthy, quite a little bit out of this world kind of thing.
Ethereal?
Yeah, that's a good word. Take it. So that kind of started as much more poppy, and then kind of relied more on George, like to put some good guitars and stuff in it to make it more along the rock side of things. But yeah, that I think that changed several times as well. Like the verse changed maybe 2 or 3 times in the process of recording it. Because sometimes you just like you do it all once, then you listen back and you're like, I can definitely do better than that. You like leave the room for 20 minutes, you come back and you're like, right, here's the new verse. This one's a lot better.
Okay. One of the other questions I have is this record label, Favour The Brave Records. How do they get involved?
Oh, so that's it's actually that is George's project.
Oh.
So
Oh.
yeah, so he started that up. I can't remember when now, but he's got a few bands just in the local area on it. So would have been rude for him, really.
Yeah. Okay. So one day you're just like, yeah, that could work. You know what? You have it, and the next minute you're on a record label chatting with a guy in Canada. Yeah, it is another world. It is. That's a good one. You know, funny. Looking back on the pandemic now, not that it's over by any means, but looking back on it, I had these stages, and I remember in the beginning it was fun. It was like a camp out. Like, all right, everybody, we're gonna lock down for a couple weeks, and we're gonna be humans. And
yeah,
then
that's soon changed, isn't it?
a few things have changed since we ran out of toilet paper.
Yeah, it was really good fun to begin with, and then it just
So I guess my question,
like not having any human contact bar the people you live with. You know, not that there's anything wrong with my house, mate, but it would have been nice to see a few more people.
Yeah.
You get sick of each other, don't you?
Yeah, just a little bit. Cool. So we chatted about evolving the sound to be a bit riffy. We chatted about just kind of like female vocals in general, and how in some bands I've been in the past, I'm not in a band now, but years ago I was in bands, and if we ever had a female singer, I would have somebody usually tell me like, oh, your music is so much more accessible now. That was the word, accessible. And I always think, why? Just because it's a girl? I don't know. Weird. But
I think it's more likely to stand out just because I think there are maybe less female vocalists. Just in my opinion, like there's I find a lot of like male vocalists are like, they're all out there, but I don't know, maybe it's just that girls are shy. Who knows?
Who knows? Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
I think to stand out with female lead if you do it right.
Yeah. And then we chatted about Typical, Halfway, and Vacant. There's an EP that's coming up that could be a bit riffier.
Hopefully. Yeah. I'll have news on that in a month or so.
Just mute the synth track, and then you'll have all your riffs.
I don't know. I feel like we'd be missing something.
Like
we've got guitars in there just for good measure.
Moving that slider right back on up.
I'm not getting rid of the synths anytime soon.
Very true.
I like a bounce, like bouncing around.
Cool. What else is there?
Dance moves you can do if you get rid of the synths. My dance moves aren't great at best. So.
Do you have any dance moves in any music videos? You should probably do that.
Oh, 100% no. Like, you don't want to see my dance moves. I feel like the sprinkler and like the shopping cart, like that kind of thing. I've got no real dance moves. I've got like dad moves. Yeah.
I got dad moves. Dad moves are good moves.
They only come out from beers though.
Thank you. It reminds me of, I'm old again, but REM, Losing My Religion. In the music video for that, he was doing some weird, crazy dance, and it apparently caught on like wildfire. So I think...
Well, it might be the way to go with TikTok.
Yeah, you were trying to use TikTok. That's what you got to do. You got to have...
Dancing and singing.
Yeah. I'm completely ignorant to TikTok, but I imagine you need 5 seconds of something ridiculous.
I mean, I can definitely do that. You're famous for all the wrong reasons.
Well, that's just it. You're trying to do it as a band. What do you do that's ridiculous for 5 seconds that's relevant to your band?
I don't know. I reckon just put a camera up when we're hanging out together.
Exactly.
That's probably enough. Having said that, like the Zumba scenes in the new video, I mean, that's pushing it. That's probably as close as I'll get to dancing.
Okay. All right. Fantastic. I'll put funny dance moves. We chatted about funny dance moves in the notes. Funny dance moves. Sweet. Okay, so a couple of tracks are available. Everybody out there who is tuned in and listening in to the episode right now. In today's show notes, we have facebook.com/WeAreRex. Although you did mention Instagram is probably a better place to reach you. Is that correct?
Exactly the same. All We Are Rex. Like, yeah, Twitter as well. Twitter's a lot easier to read, so they let you use capitals.
I like Twitter.
I don't know what. I don't think I have enough to say on Twitter, to be honest. I'm better with pictures.
There we go. Yeah. Out of all the ones that have made it, funny thing is, going back, I'm not old. I'm young. I'm really young. Social media used to just like come in and leave. Like we had Friendster and then it was gone. And then we had MySpace and it was gone. So it was like, oh, here comes Facebook. When is this going to be gone? And it's, between Twitter, which one came first, Twitter or Facebook? I don't remember. But I remember when Twitter came out, I was like, that's not going to last long. That's stupid. And that's been going on for ages now.
I did have MySpace. Actually, I had Bebo. Don't know if you ever had Bebo.
I didn't, but I've heard of it. And then, oh man, I'm trying to remember. There's another one. The girl who died in the tank in Los Angeles a few years ago, she was on something else, posting on it. I had never even heard of that one. But there's too many of them, mate.
Yeah, there's so much. It's too much to keep up with. Like, just stick to one. Just give me one. That'll be fine.
Yeah. I'm going to throw this one out there. Bands should stick to where their music is played. And there are social media functions available on Spotify. You could run polls. And you could ask people questions.
On Spotify?
On Spotify. Mm-hmm.
That's news to me.
And that's the scary thing. Bands are so concentrated on trying to get Facebook likes, not realizing that they could be engaging with fans as they're listening to their music.
Yeah, although having said that, you need to direct them to Spotify first.
Very true. Which also costs money if you're going to pay for ads on Facebook, because it won't do it with your regular likes on your page.
Yeah, nothing's free anymore, is it?
Nope. They've changed that algorithm to stay in business. Wah, wah. Okay, so yeah, today we chatted about We Are Rex. So Instagram.com/WeAreRex. We have some new banging singles, Typical, Halfway, Vacant. The music videos are going to be available in today's show notes. And there is talk. There's rumors on the street that Mae might come back on when there's a riffy EP to chat about. So, thank you. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on to the Rock Metal Podcast today, Mae.
No worries. Thank you so much for having me.